Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about one of our least favorite actresses working in Hollywood today, none other than Captain Marvel herself, Brie Larson. Despite Brie blowing up on the scene for the last year or so, promoting and infusing her annoying brand of feminism and anti-male bashing into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, well, despite making a big splash there early on, lately things have been pretty quiet on the Larson front for the better part of a year now. Brie almost single-handedly destroyed Marvel early last year though, so I guess she deserved to have a good long rest and the rest of the year off or something. I guess she earned it. But really, Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame of course did gangbusters at the box offices. And despite Brie and her character specifically getting lots of negative feedback, well, the numbers don't lie. And as long as the character and actress can make loads of money, the studios and others can and should be capitalizing on that. And that's what brings us to today's news story, which is also a return to covering bad advertising for this channel as well. Yes, we got a sort of twofer with this one, combining the terribly pro-social justice warrior Brie Larson with a car-making company who's trying to dabble in woke advertising. Progressive pro-feminist ads that almost never work either, mind you. But regardless of the failed track records, Nissan wanted to go down this road anyway, pun intended. And this move feels especially bad too, and like a betrayal to me specifically, since I've driven and supported Nissan for years now. May not be driving them much longer though after all this, but that's besides the point. For now, let's talk more about Nissan's woke commercial starring Brie Larson. This commercial started to trend last week, but for all the wrong reasons. Apparently, a political commercial pandering to radical leftists doesn't go over well with the average level-headed masses in America, at least. Who would have thought, huh? Not me. But really, when are liberals going to realize they're not the majority, at least not as much as they think they are? I guess controlling the mainstream media, social media, big tech, and most platforms, well, it's really gone to the left's head so much, they're clearly thinking they're bigger than they are once again. A fatal error they probably won't stop making anytime soon either. And back to the commercial and subject for today, well, it's never a good sign when a video like this has hundreds of more dislikes than likes. And also, they disabled the comment section, obviously because they didn't like what they saw down there, which usually means people are talking mad shit and calling this video out left and right. Now, while we can't watch anything here because of copyright concerns, but we can watch it on our own individually, and I'll take some pictures of the video and we'll discuss things in detail beat by beat, which is exactly what we're going to do now. Things start off with two co-workers apparently getting lunch at some food truck. Very hipster already. And then the male on the left says, "So I'm going to hold off on promoting you this quarter, okay?" The girl naturally looks disappointed as Brie Larson pulls up driving a Nissan car, of course. Larson then says, "Drop that taco and get in the car," followed by another shot where she says, "Does this car feel like a compromise to you?" Now, obviously we can all see where this is going a bit. We've got another classic pro-feminist setup, surely. Straight white male worker is the evil boss, of course, who apparently is a jerk for not promoting this woman, even though we have no idea why it's not happening. But this is obviously implied to be happening because of sexism. But in reality, I mean, who knows? People get passed up for promotions all the time for all kinds of different reasons, most of which have nothing or anything to do with the person's gender. It's more about performance and office politics. Could be there's no more budget for a promotion either, or someone else could have gotten the job from the outside, or it could be a position that's moved or eliminated altogether. Basically, the point is, this whole sexist premise and implication, it's based on nothing. Nothing other than the person not being promoted is female, and doing anything wrong to a female or something they don't like, it's automatically called sexism. And all this complaining that women are doing here and what they've been doing for years now, well, it's starting to work against them. And it's not making them look strong and hip and woke and cool like how they think. They really just look like whiny, immature complainers who are never happy. And also, they blame everything on sexism and or racism, instead of looking further at the situation or inward at themselves, and addressing what's really going on in the real world. But that's too hard and self-reflective for leftists, so they just choose to make shit up and bend things to their own will and desire. It's also worth noting that although Brie Larson is looking pretty good these days, no one cool has ever pulled up in a Nissan like this, and it would never look nearly as badass as this commercial tries to lead on. Just saying. But more importantly, back to Brie's looks, it is nice to see her looking hot again. She previously butched up a bit for the Captain Marvel role, and then by the time Avengers Endgame came out, Captain Marvel had short hair and a lesbian look and everything, truly ruining the great and pretty and sexy canvas Brie Larson obviously has to offer. Larson has recently been overcompensating for that lack in hotness too, and that's why lately she's been glamming it up, showing off her assets more, growing her long blonde hair out, and in general, it's been making dudes like me more happy. I know some will call me a pig for pointing this out, but I really do want to give credit where credit's due. For all the times I've complained about SJWs purposely casting or making their leading ladies look unattractive and butch, well, now I have to be fair and point things out when this trend is being reversed for the better. So to be fair and balanced and not just a whiner and complainer who ignores improvements when they finally happen, if they counter my arguments, but no, I'm fine with giving them some points and credit here where it's due, and hopefully they appreciate that and keep making better moves to please more and more people like this in the future, as they should, since these people are public entertainers and people trying to sell products to the masses. Then in the next bit, Brie says the handling is good, no compromise there, as she's driving this orange Nissan Sentra around the town like a maniac, talking to the girl coworker chick who just got passed up on her promotion, of course. And again, I think we see where this is going, but I'm also a bit confused as well. What does a boss not giving an employee a promotion have to do with making a compromise? Technically, a compromise is an agreement or settlement of a dispute that is reached to by each side making concessions. So what's the compromise this employee is making here then? They clearly won a promotion, but they didn't get it, so I guess the compromise is them staying with the company regardless? And maybe Brie Larson and Nissan want the worker to fight for their shit more or something. I don't know. I sort of figured it out, I guess, while we talked it through here, but it still doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Just sounds like some kind of detached buzzword this commercial and its writers are coming up with. Like something that kind of makes sense at first glance, but if you think about it a little further, it gets messed up. Finally, after showing off the car's automatic rear braking system, Brie Larson then says, well, if this car isn't going to compromise, then why should you? Well, that's because it's a car and not a person. And this is followed by the worker girl agreeing with that and then getting out of the car to go to work again, looking like she means business and she's going to tell her boss off or something. Then Brie Larson ends things by saying, that a girl. And then we can assume the worker is going to talk to her boss and demand the promotion or something. I don't know. This is getting weird and confusing again. And it's also, of course, trying its bestest to pander to leftists, particularly feminists and SJW women. That's why they're doing this whole girls versus guys at work premise to begin with, a pretense which Nissan awkwardly squeezes into this commercial to pander to leftists. I mean, to talk about the so-called compromising again, what do they expect the female worker to do here anyway? I mean, if there's not a promotion available, then it's not available. You can't just make one up. And usually demanding and yelling at your boss like a crazy person about things like this, it's not going to help. And it's actually childish and unprofessional. Sure, there are times where you do need to speak up at work, and being vocal and asking for what you want can be important at times too, but at the same time, you've also got to be patient and do it at the right moment. And trying to just will things into existence forcefully and pushing it, that doesn't usually work either. In fact, women like this seem to be overcompensating to me. Like they think they need to be these confident and arrogant assholes because that's how they perceive men are at work. But that's just a stereotype of us and a misrepresentation and misinterpretation of how we act, coming from a group of pro-feminist male haters who don't understand males or the real world. In the end, we've got two more things worth mentioning before we wrap this commercial talk up. First, I couldn't help but notice this woke woman-based campaign is coming out around what they now call International Women's Day, a part of the entire Women's History Month of March. This progressive SJW-led cause is, of course, directly following February or Black History Month. And then we've got Gay Pride Month coming back in June, and now I can't even. Literally 25% of the year, a quarter of all the months, is devoted to celebrating the history and fighting for the rights of these preferred demographics, and I think I've finally had enough. So right now, unless we can make another month for, say, Men's History Month or an American First Pro-European History Month or something, well, if we're not going to be fair and come up with something for the other side, well, I'm not going to take your months seriously anymore, and I'm going to goof on you for them. Not that I ever did take these things seriously, but I am now going to actively root against your months because you're too self-centered, and couple that with your double standard against us, and it's becoming rather infuriating. Lastly, and back to the commercial again now, there was actually some pretty reckless driving taking place there that's worth noting over again. It's hard to notice too much if you're not paying close attention, but really, Brie Larson was driving like a crazy person, and her telling the worker to drop her taco before that, well, that was just wasteful. So, in addition to teaching kids to drive like angry teenagers, they're also encouraging people to waste food here too, and I say that's especially less kosher in this dangerous and scary world we're living in now in 2020 current year, with things like doomsday predictions and apocalyptic news stories coming out left and right lately. I mean, it is the liberals who are trying to scare us to death all the time in the media, saying the world's going to end in 12 years if we don't cut down on our emissions drastically. But then at the same time, they're using their prominent feminist figureheads to try and sell us more gas-guzzling cars? Well, while also risking our lives driving them and even wasting food in the process for no good reason. Clearly not a good look for left-wingers and not a good look for Nissan or Brie Larson at all. Now, before we go, let's read one quote from the company themselves and see why Nissan chose Brie Larson to advertise their new product with this new woke promotion to begin with. Here, a vice president at Nissan says, "Our target customers for the new Sentra are accomplished, career-focused individuals who have a particular affinity for the entertainment industry." Witherspoon tells Marketing Daily, "We are confident that a successful and groundbreaking woman like Brie Larson with her unwavering spirit will appeal to a broad audience." Yeah, right. The sassy actress perfectly embodies the spirit of the campaign, adds Witherspoon. Larson has also brought a unique point of view to the creative during the production process, advocating for diversity and inclusivity, Witherspoon notes. Well, I think we all know what that means. If Brie Larson is advocating for so-called diversity, that really means she just wants less white people there. This is the chick who said white males shouldn't be reviewing her movies or listened to anymore last year. So she's obviously more than happy to bash and belittle an entire gender and race. The very kind of behavior her and other liberals pretend to be so much against. In addition, if Brie really wanted this thing to be diverse, she would have recast her own part as a minority. They could even still use a female actress for the Avengers if they wanted to. Tessa Thompson could have done this commercial easily, or maybe Zoe Saldana or that Asian chick from Guardians of the Galaxy. But no, Brie Larson happily took this gig for herself, even though she says she's for diversity and she's also you know what race, the one her and her kind clearly can't stand. That's why they want to diversify everything. Also, if Nissan really wanted to appeal to a wider audience, Brie Larson should not have been their first choice for this, nor should she have been their second, third, or fourth choice. No, nowhere on the top 10 should this actress have been, especially if you're trying to pick a spokesperson who's not controversial and has mass appeal for everyone. Brie Larson has been highly controversial, really, and confrontational too, and everyone with a lick of sense can't stand her pro-female, anti-male, anti-American baloney. She's caused controversy after controversy and spoken out poorly, and turned large swaths of Americans, many of which could have been potential Nissan customers, but now I can't say many will be coming back to that company anytime soon. In fact, I may just have to put my older Nissan truck onto the market soon, because now I'm almost embarrassed to go out in a vehicle like that, a vehicle with this kind of nonsense revolving around it. What do you guys think? Is Brie Larson's new Nissan commercial totally woke? Why do advertisers always want to push feminist propaganda and lies like this, knowing full well people are sick of these agendas being rammed down our throats, especially in our advertising? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button to help support this channel, and we'll see y'all next time.